Hey guys, I know it's been a minute. We are back on 2002. I have been working on the car. I know it's been a month since the last episode. I have been working on it. I've got just some other stuff to work on. We finally got some nice weather here in Ohio, so I got a lot of projects at home. I have the E30. We took it to North Carolina and had some problems, and I tore that apart and got it back together. So just been other stuff and husband duties, all those fun things you do when you have a wife that you try to keep happy. So anyway, we are back on this. We are finishing up the wiring. We are working on the exhaust, getting that all tacked together, and then possible first start. So anyway, appreciate you watching if you have been, and continue, or if you hate it, sorry. Hopefully it helps a couple people out. Anyway, hope you enjoy the episode. This battery box, it came with a bracket up here, but it didn't come with these. I found this laying around from another kit that I had for something. So I'm going to use this, and I think I'm going to cut this down and just weld a nut to the top of it, and so I can use that to thread that down in. It's the correct pitch for that nut that's welded there, so I think I can make this work. Let's see what happens. This took way longer than it was supposed to, like everything else I do. I cut this one too short, so I came down here and welded on an additional, there you go, welded on a nut to make this longer. And then, man, this is just a crappy setup, because this back here damn near runs into the back seat. And then I don't like this bracket, but it's in here and it's solid, so it's gonna stay for now. And it's removable if you need to. So make I think a ground cable for this one so that this is done. So anyway. This is cleaned up, ground off the powder coat on the bracket and put an end on it. And obviously I don't have clamped down on the battery yet because I'm not ready for that. But yeah, I'm okay with that. I think it looks okay. Got plenty of cable. Obviously probably didn't need all that, but that's what the kit came with. So that's what we're using. So hopefully there's enough ground there. If not, I'll move it down there on the chassis or something, but I think that should be fine. So we're gonna try it anyway. I don't know exactly how these injectors work, but they get a intake, what's the word I'm looking for? Intake pressure, I guess, or vacuum. And this one was been repaired and they're just all crusty. So surprisingly, still get this from BMW, so we're replacing it. There's a couple more hoses on the top side of the engine for the PCV, big hoses that they're going to have to be replaced because they're rock hard, but we're at least going to swap this one out. This is the kit that I got for the electric booster for the connector. The ones I've got in the past, I got the connectors with the used booster, but when I bought this one, I couldn't find any that had the wiring with it. It seems like it's just easier for everybody to unplug them than, to cut the wires and include them. So we're using this little diagram. It's 4 wires from the small sensor to the big one, and then 3 or 4 wires out of the big one to power ground 12 volt. So yeah, found some random wires here that are small, that are pretty close to the right color. That way I can kind of keep an idea what's going on. And then we'll run the pigtails for the bigger ones. I just wanted to get this in place so that when we through more of the wiring in the car that it's accessible. So, because we're obviously going to have more 12 volt constant, 12 volt switched, and the grounds I can obviously run to those little blocks that I made. So anyway, I'll keep at it. Still working on the wiring. I think I showed these two that I installed, and then I think I showed the power wire coming off the starter. I needed a ground cable, so I know you won't really be able to see it, but I welded a bolt to the frame here so that I had a stud, and this ground cable here runs over to the engine, and then I made a short ground cable to run up to here for the rest of my grounds. So yeah, now I've got a good positive side and a good ground side, and I can add, you know, whatever I need to it. Ideally, I'd have another fuse box somewhere for like the eye booster and other stuff that needs to be fused, but man, space is really tight here. I really just need like 3 or 4 fuses, but all the little fuse boxes are all, you know, 8, 10 fuses, and they take up all this space, and they kind of would replace this, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do inline fuses for the stuff that needs fused, and I'll try to come up with a decent way to make that work. So anyway, keep at it. Still working through the wiring on this thing. I got a lot of the harness from Jake worked out. This is pretty much all I have left over from the big stack I had earlier. I needed the tack wire, and I wasn't sure where it was. Come to find out, it is a single black wire that comes off the coil, which would be easy to find if you had an engine in the car where you pulled it off and labeled it coil, but I didn't. So anyway, I thought it was this one, but I wasn't sure. So I decided to go ahead and pull the cluster out. You have to remove the speedometer cable in the back, and then these 2 thumb screws, which I was kind of familiar with. The E30 uses the same thing. And for the tack adapter for the M42, you need this little guy. Focus. There you go. Autosport Labs tack adapter. And from what I could find online, tack 1 goes to this wire. The wire from Jake, somewhere on here. Yeah, tack output. So it's going to be another black wire from him, from his adapter. This wire right here, it says tack on it. Is going to go to, sorry, I hope I don't make you want to throw up. Come on, there you go. It's going to go to the tack side. And then the other wire goes to coil. I'm sorry about this, guys. One of these days, I'll get my life together. Coil 1. So yeah, sorry to make that more complicated than it is, but yeah, tack and coil 1 go in between Jake's harness as his tack and the black wire from the actual tack itself. So yeah, we're going to get that hooked up, and I'll probably just heat shrink this thing in place out here somewhere. You could put it inside the car, but I'm just going to do it out here. So, because all the wiring's out here. So, yep. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot. This is all the wiring for the original harness and the Classic Daily add-on for the M42. I haven't tied anything up permanent yet. I'll probably wrap all this once I make sure everything works. But yeah, this is a heat shrunk, that little tack adapter that's going to stay out here. I got all my constant 12, all my grounds. I've got, this is the only 12 volt switch I have. There's 2 wires there from the original 12 volt switch inside the car. And then obviously I've got a fuse here. I think this is for the eye booster, and then the fuse is from the add-on harness that fit well in here. So yeah, now I've just got the original engine harness. I need to get this back in the car. I need to figure out, I need to get all this stuff under the intake, mount it up, and then I need to figure out a way to get this in the engine bay, but then be able to put the intake back down on the car, in the car, on the engine, so that then some of the wiring on the top side and the injectors can go in place, because the injectors are hardwired to the harness. So yeah, that's our next step. But I feel pretty confident, or feel pretty good about where we are and the wiring I've got done. So yeah, keep moving. I know this looks quite a bit different from my last video, but it's really only a couple hours worth of work here. I got the wiring in place, kind of where I want it. I obviously haven't got the ECU, the diagnostic port. I got a wideband, not a wideband, the original O2 sensor. I got a couple other plugs. The IAC valve needs to be plugged in. All I really did was spray the supercharger down, put the fuel rail on, run the fuel rails over to the FPR from the kit. Got new vacuum lines installed. This is the new, well, you saw this earlier, you know what this is. Anyway, got the new fuel lines ran under the intake. Supercharger's mounted. I'm gonna hook my throttle back up. I need to hook the coolant line up. Yeah, so anyway, I've still got, like I say, nothing's really hard mounted. I just wanted to get it in here. Maybe get my intake situated so I can get the AFM hooked up, and then still need to wire fuel pump. Potentially I could turn this thing over, maybe get the belt on there. Yeah, so I'm gonna put the belt on there, and then maybe put my coolant line in there, and see what happens. Got this intake situated, at least temporarily. There's a piece of pipe inside here that takes up the distance. There's a gap between this and this, and I need something to clamp this down onto. Eventually I'll get this probably TIG welded or change this up a little bit, but AFM, and then little footer I got, there's tight down there, but it's fine. I want to make sure this is all going to work, and then I'll come back through and remake that bracket that I spent hours making, throw that away, and build another one. Since I had to switch this reservoir, that bracket doesn't fit anymore. So, but I got the throttle cable reinstalled, I got the upper radiator hose reinstalled, I got the belt reinstalled, which is a super huge pain because there's basically no room in there. So yeah, I think I will go through, set the coil pack on there, plug it in. I need to get the PCV and the IAC up here. I need to remake all the hoses, but I don't know if I'm going to do that just yet. I can at least get this on here and see if it does anything. But yeah, it's kind of looking like an engine bay with an engine that might work, maybe. Don't let me forget to put some oil in it, because that would be bad. Anyway, let's see what we can do here. I should put some oil in this thing before I forget. Anybody know how much oil this takes? I think like 4 liters. Put that in it. Got some Valvoline VR1 2050. Seems like tractor oil, but I guess this isn't, you know, 21st century technology. Jeez. Come on, little guy. Guess it is a little bit cold here today. Maybe I need to put some of this in my 135. Maybe it'll quiet down the GM lifters. Whatever I got going on with the valve train and that thing. Should probably make sure it's not pouring out the bottom somewhere. Stop there. Come on, little guy. There we go. Cap back on. This is my makeshift PCV system. This has got to get plugged into there. It also doubles as my oil dipstick holder. Well, maybe. Come on, little guy. You're home. All right, there we go. That'll work for now. I still got to do the connector for the fuel pump. And I think that's close to being what we need for the engine. So double check everything here. All I did here was a little pigtail harness for the ground. The same for the power from the wire coming from the front. So that'll at least temporarily get me going there. What's going on, everybody? Back on this 2002 tonight. When I last left off, I don't remember where we were, but the fuel pump is not kicking on from the ECU, but I bypassed it. And I had a big fuel leak at the pressure regulator right here. I pulled it apart. The O-ring looked fine, but it was still puking. So I got another one for Rock Auto, put it in, and it's now not leaking. That was when I jumped. I just put 12 volt to it. It's screeching for some reason, but then once it runs for a while, it's fine. I pulled the sender out and like fuel spraying, and I thought like maybe my clamps aren't tight, but they're tight. So I don't know where it's coming from, but it's staying in the tank. And then once it stops screeching, it also stops spraying, and then it sounds fine. So the other issue I have is I have no fuel return, and I assume this higher volume, higher pressure pump with nothing going on should be returning a lot more fuel. So I checked the return line, and it seems fine. I blew some air through it. That seems fine. So I'm messing with this secondary regulator. I really have no idea how this thing works. I'm going to take it the rest of the way apart. I'm assuming, hopefully, that something is causing that to be plugged off and not returning additional fuel. So that's what I'm messing with right now. But once I get that going, then I can figure out whether the ECU is powering up. I think it is. The IAC is making noise. So that makes me think that the ECU is doing something, but I need to make sure once I have fuel, see if I have any spark, and then we can try to start this thing. So that's where we're at. Finally got this thing working. I got to hook my return back up. As you can see, it's making the right noises, and my fuel return is working. The problem was not the regulator itself. I took it apart and it seemed fine. I had my lines hooked up backwards, so it was coming out of the rail fine, but then it was deadheading on the return side instead of the supply side. So it's exciting. I think my fuel system is good, so we'll move on. everybody. Don't know where we last left off on the 2002. It's been at least maybe 2 weeks since I've worked on the car. Getting ready to go to the Vintage in Asheville, and I thought my E30 was ready, but it decided to eat a timing chain guide. So I spent yesterday trying to figure out what's going on with that. Come and find out the tensioner broke a spring inside, and I think that allowed a bunch of slop in the chain, and eventually broke the guide, and then the chain chewed on the guide and dumped it all into the oil pan. So I had to pull it all apart, clean the oil pan, put it all back together, put a new guide, new tensioner in it. Anyway, and then my 135 started acting up, so I was messing with that. So 2002's been on the back burner a little bit, but I did new O-rings for the fuel injectors. These are the two I put on, and the fourth one was leaking, and come to find out it's missing the clip. Well, sorry. These. It was a missing one, so then the injector wasn't held in tight. So I need to get a new one of those, and then we'll put all new O-rings on these, and then shove that back in. I also found a huge vacuum leak here, so maybe that will help with the running. And I need to fix this routing. I'm sure there was a leak there as well. But today, working on the exhaust, we're doing 2.5 inch stainless off the header to a vibrant resonator and a vibrant muffler. I'm hoping this isn't too loud. If it is, I may get a cat for it or something. I got another 2.5 inch stainless kit here, and we are not TIG welding the stainless because I don't have a TIG welder. So we're MIG welding it, which I know is a no-no, but we're gonna do it anyway, and I've done it a few times, and it holds up for cars that don't see a lot of salt, and it's a way to get it done. And since my labor is basically free, that's what we're gonna do. So at some point they want to have a super nice exhaust built for it, they can do that. But this is gonna get it going, and this is what we're gonna do. So anyway, I'll post a little bit as we get this going. So anyway. Man, look how pretty that thing is. You can almost see me in there. I'm gonna ruin this thing with a MIG weld here in a second. Here's where we're at with the exhaust. I got the V-band tacked to the manifold, and just a little piece coming back, and another elbow going up, and then the opposite elbow going back to the resonator. That's tacked in, and pretty happy with that. I haven't done a hanger or anything yet. Now I gotta decide on the tailpipe. I'm assuming the original one went above the subframe. I'm not certain I'm gonna do that. The one I built for the E30, I just ran under, and there's plenty of room. This car isn't sitting that low, so it may just go under. But I'll see how it fits and get back to you. Here's what we got going on. I know I haven't done much videoing for this, but it's a pain. So the quicker I get it done, the quicker I can move on. So anyway, I decided to go at it the hard way and go up over the cross member. I'm probably going to have to do something with the battery cable. I might get some heat insulation or something and reroute it just a little bit. But yeah, we got the resonator coming back up. Oh, I got a V-band clamp there so that we can, I'm
assuming hopefully get this back out of the car so that we can finish weld it. I just thought about that as I was talking, so it could be interesting if I can't get it out of the car. Yeah, so anyway, and I got my muffler sitting up there. I just gotta connect the dots from there to there. I'm gonna try to build a hanger from that original spot there. I'm not gonna use the original donut. I'll come up with something else, and then we'll have a tailpipe that we gotta make. I think we're just gonna do a 90 over and then a 90 back out. Since the cutouts on the side, we're going to utilize that. I know some of these have center outlets, but the owner wanted to use the outlet that was there, so I'll make a little whoop and go from there. So anyway, that's what we got going on. Got quite a bit done for just a couple hours worth of work, so pretty happy about that, especially doing this on the ground. Sucks. So yeah, anyway, have a good night. I think in the last video, this was the section that comes off the resonator and goes up over the cross member and down under the axle. And I had tacked it all up in there, and I think I was questioning whether I was going to be able to get it out of the car or not. Well, I couldn't. Anyway, all I really had to do was break a couple of the welds, pull it back out, shorten this section up here, and I think we'll put a V-band here. So I'll get this back up in the car and show you where I'm at with that. So anyway, it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was kind of funny that I wasn't thinking about it when I tacked it up in there that, oh, this needs to come out. So anyway, continue on. Loaded up this hanger. I'll show you where it's at under the car, but it hangs off the differential mount to the chassis, so it'll help hold the muffler up. This is my hanger. I'm just using the existing bolt for the diff bushing. It's welded down around the side here, and then as you come back, there's my muffler. So I'll probably, there was an old hanger here, so I will probably make another one. Comes maybe on this side. Since that one's on that side, maybe I'll do it on this side. And then we need a 90 with, 90 straight piece of pipe and then coming out. So I don't have any plans for a tip yet. I think we're just gonna leave it raw for now. Maybe if I can find a tip, we'll put something in it. But 2.5 is pretty good size for that. So anyway, we'll keep at it. So initially, I had plans just to build this like this, but I don't love this pipe hanging down here. So I think if I angle this up and then make a little angle piece here, that hopefully will look better. We'll see. I'm gonna try it. We'll see what happens. Pretty happy with that. I don't know. I'm gonna trim this a little bit, I think, so that it's
parallel with the car. But other than that, it's a little bit close right here. But with this, the way this 90 is, it's not sharp enough. So if I move it that way, then it's too far over. So, but yeah, I think that looks a lot better than the pipe going at an angle. I don't know. We'll see. Probably look like crap once I weld it, because my welds will be crappy. But whatever. It's gonna do. And then pulled the front pipe off. This is where I tacked it together originally. Cut it apart. Took a 4-inch section out. I'm gonna stick that in there. So yeah, that'll work. Hopefully it fits in the car. There's a little bit of room under the floor, but obviously that is a little bit bigger in diameter, but I think it'll work. We'll find out here. I really struggled with this one. I got lazy and I tried to measure the length of the flex and where I wanted it and cut it out on the bench and tack it in place. And when I did that, my front pipe ended up, I don't know, 1/2 or 3/4 inch too short. So then I cut the spot welds, lengthen it, put it back up in the car, and it still didn't sit right. So then I cut all the tack welds on both sides, just rough fit it together, put it up in the car, got it where I want it, and then tacked it in place under the car. You know, you shortcut because you think it's going to be easier to do it on the bench when you know you should have just waited. If I started this over again, I'd probably put the flex pipe further down somewhere, I guess, because now this is the low point. But it's not going to hurt anything. This car doesn't sit super low anyway, I don't think. I think that will be fine. So it's going to have to be fine because that's where it's going to be. And I got my bung there. I didn't tack it because I'd like to do hopefully one solid weld. That'll lessen the chance for any leaks. So anyway, I think that's probably going to do it for tonight. I need to pull it. Well, I might do one more hanger here. And then that should be it for the exhaust. Pull it all down and then spend however much time trying to finish weld it, not burn a bunch of holes through the stainless. But I think I got the heat setting on the welder about where I want it. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. That's going to be the end of this video. I was hoping to get the exhaust finished, but it's not going to happen tonight. So I will finish that exhaust for the next episode, and maybe we can test drive this thing at least out of the garage. Still got to get tires for it. Obviously there's a few other things. I need to get the injectors, the seals and the clips on the injectors. I think I showed you that earlier in the video, so that we can see if this thing will run. I did find a huge vacuum leak on the throttle body, nipple that goes to something, I have no idea, but it was open, so maybe that's why it won't idle. And then see if, I don't think the fuel pump was kicking on, so I need to figure that out. I checked the wiring and the fuses and stuff, and it seemed okay. But also, somebody said it doesn't turn on until you crank it. I don't know. I thought it would come on with key on, but I guess it doesn't. So anyway, we'll finish that all up for the next episode, and appreciate you guys watching. If you have comments, feedback, questions, I take all those things. So anyway, have a good rest of your weekend, and appreciate you.